We will pull him out, let him pass.
Мы его вытаскиваем, вытаскивайте! Дайте им пройти! Дайте им пройти!
I am not against the recording. I am not against the video recording. I am not against the video recording. Fedor Vasilyevich Saito, Primorsky Krai, Blackogorsk, 35 years old. Antonov Anton Yevgenyevich, 26 years old, Khabarovsk Krai. Pavel Viktorovich Poyman of Khabarovsk Krai, 35 years old, 2006. Can you tell us about the situation in the camp? We were on the positions, he was wounded, he was deaf, and had no resistance. Did you do it yourself? Yes. The roll began, the shooting began. I ran into the dugout, before which I was shot. Something hit me. Then I decided to give up. There was no way out. I did not want to go to war, and so on. I gave the first aid. A grenade flew in, the guy broke his leg, and a shrapnel flew into the neck.
Получается, граната прилетела и, там парню ногу сломала и в шею осколок прилетел.
Well, our men came up, there was no way out. I have only 10 people here on the territory of the prince. And before that I was at home in Khabarovsk Krai. How did you get to Khabarovsk Krai? In connection with the mobilization, but I did not go. I was hiding for a while, so to speak, and then I was caught. I was sent here for a period of 10 years. I was sent here. Where to hide? How long? At home for a long time, from the beginning of October to June. Then they caught me and brought me here. Why did not you want to go to the mobilization? I am against violence, against war. I don't understand all this. For what? What? How? And how many of them did you want to go? I did not communicate with many of them, but there were those who did not want to either. But there was no choice. Yes, well, it turns out that they talked for a couple of days. They made some protocols, interrogation. Then one of these investigators said that they had been investigating for 10 years. So from 10 to 15 years, as the court decided. But now, according to their opinion or decision, there is a choice. Either you sit down or you go there for a short time and come back. They promised me that I would just sit down in the cell on the radio. After they already brought, and put me directly in the forest lane, I already understood that this is not a joke. Did they even teach you? Yes, they did not teach me. There was no training. They just took me from the bus, brought me there by car. Did you have an urgent service? Well, I was already in the 15th year. Well, you understand that you had to wait in the car. Well, for an urgent service, I had to wait a couple of days. What did you do during the war? Here, most of the preparations were absolutely not. And your 57th Brigade, were they mobilized? Most of them, yes. Most of them were also mobilized. Yes. And how were you mobilized? How were you mobilized? It turns out that I was immediately caught in the first wave. Well, there was simply no choice. They taught me at work. I immediately got lost. I don't know, I was scared, also scared by the term. I got into the unit. I also tried to somehow get out of the unit, but there apparently the war is of special economic importance. That is, bribes and non-bribes were useless. I was already here, called my wife, told her some options, but there were no options. Where did you work? I am an electrical engineer at the railway station. And how did you do it? Just came, they gave you a ride, they took you away right away. They gave me a ride, they said 2 hours to the city, there will be a traffic jam, that's all. And they immediately said that I am at least 8 years old. Well, that's all. Plus relatives, well, those who are elderly. They said, like, don't spoil the child's future, don't make yourself ahead. I myself am lost, confused, and all this pressure just broke and I voluntarily went to war. And what do you mean, don't spoil the child's future? Did you have a logic with him? In any case, do you think he will be a criminal? I don't know how there was logic. I just say that I myself was scared and confused all day. Plus from the family. That is, Yana was told that you were a criminal. Not that I believed it, it just happened that they started like this and I was just confused. Therefore, there was no training either. That is, we sat in a cell for a month. Most of the time we just slept on the field. That is, we just came, put on our shoes, went fishing. Well, at the training ground, they literally gave us a grenade to throw once. They gave us 1 or 2. We just shot 15 rounds. That is, there was no tactical preparation, nothing like that. What about you? Well, it turns out that in the beginning of October, when the mobilization began, they came, I stayed at home, and on October 6th, it turns out, I went out into the yard. Well, they just drove up with a car, gave me a ride. Well, they also started to lock me up for 40 days. You don't show up for a whole term, 8 years. Well, and also relatives, well, as it were, also a child of the future, in the same sense. Can you sit for a while? I don't understand at all. Well, they put a stamp on you, something like an enemy of the state, such a red stamp. Well, you don't work, you don't find anything in this regard. The enemy of the Slavic times, the enemy of the Soviet times. Well, I don't know, there were photos on the internet, some kind of military stamp, such a red one. They put such stamps on the bones, but there will be no future. Or because the school, I don't understand, you can just imagine the logic. Well, I don't know what the attitude towards the child will be, what his father will be, the enemy of Russia, and so on. Well, what about the fact that your father kills other children? How can you explain this to your brother? Well, you had a choice, to be with this stamp, but to be with a clear conscience. Or you could go to war and kill other children, the same as your son. Well, then it would just be a mess. Of course. Well, they said that we would be in the third line, like mobilized. Well, that we would not go to the front, but to the rear. Well, you understand that the army could not be somewhere else. Well, we heard on television and on the internet that the Ukrainian army is killing children in that regard. Well, the bombings of the city, according to the news, and so on. Well, the brains are washed away. And what would you say? How old is your child? 8, 5 or 12? 12. There I will explain everything in a different way. But since he is a schoolboy, he is already being washed away without me at school. We have so-called class. This is important. This is what my wife already told me. There, yes, children are already told that, yes, you are good at war, you defend the rights of other people, and so on. That is, I will come and explain to another child what and how it was in fact. Well, if your son, what is his name? Clemency. Clemency will ask his dad, did he kill him? What will you tell him? No, I really did not kill. Well, you could have killed. You were already going to war. I could. Okay, if your dad asks who killed your children in the theater or who killed your children in the street, what will you tell him? Truth. Well, how will you tell him? Who did it? Well, I will explain it in such a way that it was never done by the Ukrainian armed forces.
Делали ни разу не украинские вооруженные.
And who did it? Ours. When I first saw this news, in principle, I believed that it was not you who did it.
В принципе, верил, что не вы это делали.
Having been here, I am even more than sure that it was not you who did it.
Больше чем уверен, что это не... Вы сами не знали, как это чудить.
Security. Regarding the security, I will say that due to all this security, for a long time while I was here, I did not see anything absolutely good. That is, someone even said that there are simply not enough soldiers. About normal food, many have already forgotten to think about it. That is mostly only food. Yes, mostly only food. Water, food, attitude, command in principle like the cattle. That is, when they took us to the bath, it was already, so to speak, a local movement. Kambrakov in general said, go to the bathhouse. When you go there, you will be there. They said the phrase, talk to me silently. God forbid you will retreat. I will heal you.
Мелькали фразы, что разговаривай со мной молча, не дай бог будете отступать, я вас расстреляю.
Will there be such cases? I have been there. Well, I don't know in our area, but in some channels I saw that when our soldiers retreated, they were ordered to shoot a few people.
В некоторых телеграм-каналах видел, что когда наши солдаты отступали, отряды расстреливали нескольких человек.
I also heard about it. Well, you can say that there was a lot of talk about it when they just mined the channel with their backs.
Просто за спинами заминировали канал.
Who did it? At the command of our Kambrakov. Was it another brigade, or was it a brigade from another battalion? I don't know where this determination came from, if they were subordinates or subordinates to some army. But I know for sure that it was the order of the Kambrakovs. What about the Kambrakovs and how they did it? Well, they never even came to the positions. They were not interested in anything. Well, there are rumors that the Kambrakovs were constantly drinking in the village. Well, they just cornered the Kambrakovs at a distance. I have never even seen them on the positions. Well, this is a mess. Have you ever seen your relatives? Well, sometimes, well, yes, at the entrance to the village. Yes, but I was not in the village. I was not in the positions all the time. Well, did they come to you? Did they tell you what to do? Well, as you can see, they will appear, they will communicate. And who communicated with you? Did they report or tell you what to do? Well, basically everything was on the radio station. As such, they did not have orders. That is, they just threw us out of the shelf, told us to watch. If suddenly you reflect on the map, that's all. Did you have such an idea to immediately go to captivity? Well, without a fight. No, I did not understand. There was this idea, but there was simply no way to implement it. What did you mean? It turns out that when I was in the first positions, near the Pechanka village, I just did not even know where to go. And when we were already here, near the Krudyumavka, it was clear that I would not have made it through the field. First of all, I did not know the location of the mines, whether there were mines or not. Well, plus, accordingly, there are eyes everywhere, and I was simply not sure that I would be able to escape. Well, you were the only one who wanted to fight, or did it somehow coincide with the other? What? Because it was even useless to talk to many on this topic. And, so to speak, propaganda is a rather violent thing. Did you see that there was a war behind them? Did you see what kind of attitude they had? In your opinion, Why do these people still continue to carry out the order? I don't know how this is related, but they firmly believe that Ukraine is a racist evil.
Они прям упорно верили, что Украина это нацизм, зло.
Well, okay, but did they see such an attitude? They saw the command of the war, but at the same time they did not see the attitude towards Ukraine. And how can you explain why? I too tried to overcome this phenomenon, so I could not deal with it. Why is that? That is, these are the same people. You get used to them, you just do not see them as they say. Visibly, yes. I don't know how to explain it.
Я не знаю, как это объяснить.
Well, you are a spotter, aren't you? Yes. Well, it would be better for you to go with someone there, right? For many. Thank you very much. We need to communicate with them that they are castrating here. Yes, they cut off the testicles, seal the tunnel holes, and the list can go on indefinitely.
И, список можно продолжать бесконечно.
That like surrender to captivity. Yes, the Americans are a crowd of forces that is, there is a lot of talk that they are real beasts. But you heard about the guns, did not you? You have already told us. About the fact that the party did not come to us, we heard. And how did you interact with the soldiers? It turns out that when we were taken to Junovka, we stayed there for some time with the prisoners.
Мы какое-то время стояли рядом с кашниками, которые заключенные.
We were given a type of training. They were given, yes, we did not understand how it works, how to look at the ministry of the brigade for some reason, to give a gun for some reason. Well, I don't know how to explain it. But I don't know what they could teach us in principle if they just came to the point where they shouted.
Они могли в принципе нас обучить, если они, просто доходило до того, что они кричали в
That is, they did not even know how to deal with a machine gun. Listen, how can you explain this conflict of the interior between Navarone and Wagner? What? Well, we only knew about this situation when we got caught. No, in principle, when we discussed the situation with Navarone, the Poles were responsible for Wagner. They had their own rules, their own well how not to step back, so that whoever steps back is shot.
Не отступать назад, такую, что кто назад отступает, простреливает.
But in general, yes, they have everything there. If there is some kind of disobedience, and so on, then in principle they have a conversation about it. Or they punish you very much up to the point of denial.
либо очень сильно тебя наказывают, вплоть до обновления.
And for a phone call. By the way, it is said that Navarone came to Navarone and threw people on the meat, but they beat people. How is this? Well, I don't know how they treat the invaders, but the prosecutor should say that they are just meat. In principle, they are the same as we were with Navarone. Well, we are also treated like that.
И нас тоже как раз получается кинули.
No way out, nothing at all. Who did you vote for? I did not vote for anyone.
Я ни за кого не vote.
How long did you vote for them? Only by mail. Well, when I served in a difficult service, they forced me to vote. And you did not vote for anyone. At that moment, I voted for the LPR. So now you were forced not to vote for anyone. No, they just brought me to the LPR. Did you vote for the LPR in the parliamentary elections? No, in the presidential elections. Did you vote for Zhirinovsky in the presidential elections? No, I did not vote for him. Well, I don't know how he arranged his politics. And why did not you go to the presidential elections? Well, what's the point of going to the presidential elections? We have all the elections there. Well, I also went to the presidential elections, and there are no candidates to vote for. I don't know. I don't think you heard it. We had elections once. It turns out that the governor of the Volpa region, and there the communist Yukenko was confidently leading. Well, it was a specific protest vote against the righteous Russians. Oh, the righteous Russians, the united Russian. He won. Then suddenly some ships voted and the United Russia won. The people began to revolt. Then they quickly admitted that there were some protests. After a couple of months, a new vote was checked. There were already other candidates. Kamieko was there. I don't even remember the other parties. Well, accordingly, Kamieko won. Here it was already without talks. Did you vote for him? Yes. Who did you vote for in the presidential elections? In the presidential elections, in the last ones, I voted, in my opinion, for Ikenko. I put a tick there. And why do you vote for him? I became convinced in Putin about 15 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And why did you become convinced? How to say? Well, I just saw what was going on with me. That is, I understand what super earnings are coming from resources. I don't see any development in principle. That is, for me, it's nonsense that we have such a concept in our country as a poor working person. This is nonsense for me. If we work like this, we can be poor. And who did you vote for? In principle, I did not vote. I have always looked for empty things. And why so? I don't know. First of all, I don't see any point in this. And secondly, I, in principle, do not dwell on all the geopolitical things. That is, I don't understand what is better and what is worse. I don't see anything in this. Well, maybe he was not sent to you because he is poor. I don't know, but I don't think that such a person depends on anyone. And then it all depends on you. Who is to blame? In my opinion, who is the highest in us? And who? Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin. Is he to blame for everything? Everything can be. Everything is possible. And who do you think is to blame? Well, our leadership. Who is this? He is also the president. Well, the people in general, in principle. Well, there is no such thing as some kind of revolution. Well, as it were. And who is to blame? In general, in principle, everyone is to blame. And would you like to be blamed for the mistakes? Or to be blamed? Well, if the main mass has become. And how much should the main mass be? Well, I don't know. But the main mass is Moscow, Ekaterinburg, the Far East. How many? 1.5 million people live in the Far East. Well, maybe 2 million somewhere. Well, have you already been to Moscow? All money from the Far East counts. Well, we have a lot of resources there, except Moscow. Well, will you have any trips? Well, I think, were also scolded by the governor. He began to do everything for the city, for the outskirts of Khabarovsk. Well, Moscow is in a mess, as they say. And so he arrived in a mess. They took him to Moscow, judged him in short. Why did you call for Navalny? Well, there was propaganda about him, too, on television. He is even mentally ill. You see, he will be in such a state, in short. You know. Now, please, either Putin or Navalny, and the choice is very close. Or how? Well, at the moment, yes. Putin cleaned the opposition battle well. Why did not you vote for Navalny? The last choice of Navalny, in principle, does not allow this election. And before, at some point, I was just disappointed in our policy. Well, I also made this new mistake that I was in non-politics. Then I began to understand that I had to somehow get involved. When the protests started, I went to Ukraine several times to these protests. You went to the protests, right? Yes. It was when the governor called. Yes, it started. You just supported the communists, and you just did not like the injustice. I was in general against the United Russia. I just don't like this party. Even if you take the last one, in 2022, they adopted some colossal number of laws.
За 2000
That is, even if you divide it into working hours, they just did not even have time to read them. It's not that they're going to take it up, discuss it. They just did not even have time to read them. If they did not have time to judge, well, in your opinion, if there is such a large number of protests, how many people should there be? Will you change something in Russia? Will you not be afraid of people? Well, I don't count them. Well, I don't count them. Well, it turns out that the police, well, we have a lot of police in Russia.
Получается, милиция, вот это все. Ну, как бы много у нас в России, получается, ну, полиции.
And the salaries of the military are raised, well, as if they raise it for themselves. But I don't know how many there will be. Well, I think that Moscow should stand. St. Petersburg is the main one. And if you speak from the inside, if you think about the army from the inside, can there be some kind of internal coup? I think it would be very rare if only simple soldiers could somehow be organized. Because commanding is all according to the agenda, according to the same work. What can be done to make them organize? Well, here I don't even know. Because, well, really a very large percentage in St. Petersburg, well, believe in the propaganda. And how would you like to help them now? Because to ask them to change the system, as it were, overthrow the government.
Yeah.
And you, well, we can try. We can try. Or so. Well, yes. Damn, guys, finish this.
Блин, пацаны,
Stand up and support the command.
вставайте, пойдут командование.
Come on. Enough. Enough to fight. Tell me that no one forced you to say that. No one forced us. No one forced us. This is our personal opinion. Guys, this is not enough for everyone.